Tabletop Simulator is a bit of software that lets you play board games online with your friends. So it doesn't matter how far your old game group has moved away, thanks to COVID-19, they're trapped at home and have no excuse but to play with you. Every player will need to buy the software, but after that you have access to 32,000 free games, or mods, which are mostly homemade by the community. That means the quality isn't always the best. Some mods have been abandoned and don't work anymore, but others have nifty scripts to automate setup or gameplay. It also means that some games are there without the permission of the publishers or designers. If you play an unofficial mod of a great game, consider buying it in real life to support the original creators. And not all games suit the virtual world. Anything with lots of fiddly bits is a nightmare. In this video, I'll recommend 10 great board games that are fun on Tabletop Simulator with scripted mods that enhance the experience. If you find it useful, please subscribe to the channel to see more videos like this. When the quacks of Quedlingburg aren't claiming that 5G spreads coronavirus, they're making potions in this game of risk-taking and going bust. The core of it is an endless game of blackjack, deciding whether to stick or twist. When you twist, you blindly draw an ingredient out of your bag, adding it to your pot. The higher the number, the more the pot fills up, getting you more points. But the bag contains deadly cherry bombs, which make you go bust if you draw too many of them. Seeing what you get each time is fun, and it teases you into always drawing one more. Even when you've got some cherry bombs in your pot and you know that every extra draw is a risk, you can't resist it. For those of you working from home who can't even cross a road anymore, this is how to get your thrill seeking now. When you decide to stick with what you have, you score points for how far you got on the track, but you also get spending points to buy new ingredients for your bag, giving you new ways to score in future rounds. If you go bust, you can use your flask, which lets you put the last drawn tile back into the bag. But then you can carry on if you want, having learnt nothing, like a child who touches the electric fence a second time. The quacks of Quedlingburg always creates drama, but there's a surprising level of intelligence beneath the surface. It's like Kim Kardashian. It plays 2 to 4 players in 1 hour and couldn't be easier to play on Tabletop Simulator. In Pandemic: The Cure, you play as a team of medical workers trying to save the world from deadly diseases, which you might think is impossible, but in this game, there's no politicians to get in your way. These tiles represent the 6 important parts of the world worth saving. Don't worry, Australia can't hear this because they're all asleep right now. These dice are the diseases you draw out of the bag each turn. You roll them and infect those continents. Your personal dice will let you take actions such as treat the disease in the continent you're in or fly somewhere else. If you don't roll the actions you need right now, you can re-roll your dice, but it's a risk, because every time you roll a biohazard symbol, it takes your group closer to the next epidemic, when all the dice that you've treated reinfect the world. To cure a disease, you need a collect sample action to take a disease dice that you've treated. Once you have 3, you can attempt to cure. You roll them, and if you get 13 or above, you find the cure. If not, your player dice stay locked until you succeed, which means you have less actions to stop the diseases from outbreaking. The script speeds up the admin of the game. Just click end turn and it will draw, roll, and place the infection dice for you. Even when you hit an epidemic, the script knows and will do the grunt work. It's a taste of the future when we all have androids in our homes rolling our dice for us. Mine will be called Trey, as in dice tray, and he'll feed me snacks so I don't get my cards dirty. Pandemic: The Cure has the same roller coaster feel of the original Pandemic. It's a bit quicker and easier to play online because there's less moving parts and the board is smaller. It plays 2 to 5 players in an hour. I'd recommend starting on medium difficulty to make it exciting. Azul is a game about Portuguese tiling that has sold 1 million copies, and a game that really makes you think, mostly about how much you underestimated the popularity of Portuguese tiling. Its beauty is in its simplicity, which makes it perfect to play online. On your turn, you pick a collection of matching tiles from one of these coasters, adding them to your board. The tiles you didn't take from that coaster are pushed into the center of the table, creating a coaster of its own. And when you think about it, aren't tables the original coaster? On your board, you're trying to complete rows of the same tile. When you do, you'll add one of them to your mosaic, winning the plaudits of the Portuguese tiling subreddit. Every time you add to a row or column of tiles in your mosaic, you'll score points for each tile in that line. The challenge is in working with what's available and timing when to grab the tiles you need. If you shift some reds into the center on this turn, the next turn you'll get a bigger collection of them by taking from the center. But be careful, another player could spot your plans and push more reds into the center to spite you. If you want them now, you have to take them all, and you'll be penalized for throwing away excess tiles. And rightly so. These tiles are Portuguese, not French. Azul is the simplest game on this list for 2 to 4 players in 45 minutes, but still with plenty to fox you. The scripted mod will sort out setup each round. All you have to do is move a few tiles around. It's a great game to learn the Tabletop Simulator ropes. Lesson 1. There are no ropes. In Quadropolis, you're competing to build the best city, with a harmonious balance of housing, green spaces, and shops, which for the youngsters were these tight confined spaces we used to visit where you would buy things so you could deliver them to your home yourself? I don't know, it was weird. As you build your city, you have to account for 2 things: the number of people living there and the energy needed to run it all. If you build a block of flats, you'll attract new people into town, but have you got something for them to do? You need to give them jobs, say running public services, or fill their existential ennui with some retail therapy. If they're left adrift, you have failed the god of capitalism and you'll lose points for it. It works both ways. The harbours and office blocks need their meat puppets to keep the wheels turning, even if remotely in their sweatpants. If not, they won't score anything. And how you arrange your tiles is crucial. Each building has its own way of scoring. Parks are only worth anything if they're next to housing. Harbours want to be in straight lines, and factories score for adjacent shops and harbours. To get tiles, you point one of your architects at the main board. The number determines which tile on that row you can pick up, and where on your city map you can place it. If I used a 2 architect, it has to go in my number 2 row or column. Turns are so simple, but the decision of which one to take and where to put it makes Quadropolis a fascinating puzzle for 2 to 4 players in 90 minutes. Tabletop Simulator is at its best when the complexity of a game plays out in your heads, and there's a script to take care of setup each round. In Lords of Vegas, you play as a ruthless casino tycoon trying to build your empire. You do that by making deals with your opponents and trying to steal their casinos. And yeah, you might annoy some friends in this one, but hey, you won't have to see them in person for another month anyway. You start out with some empty lots, then start building on them by paying the fee and choosing a casino franchise to place down. Every turn, a casino type will score. You get points for how big they are. Just because you built a casino doesn't mean you own it forever. A viable business model is to build next to an opponent, then pay for a cheeky remodel, combining your casino with theirs. The player with the highest dice in this new mega casino is the owner and scorer of all the points. But all is not lost for the victim. They can save up and pay to re-roll all the dice in the casino in a bid to regain control. The best thing about the game is that you can strike deals to sell off casinos or lots to each other, or even pay towards someone else's remodel to help bring down a giant. And it wouldn't be Vegas without some gambling. If you're lucky, you can win money at other players' casinos, or if not, give them free cash. Lords of Vegas is full of ups and downs. The dice won't always go your way, but it will always be entertaining. It's cutthroat and chaotic, but that's what I love about it. Play it with 3 or 4 players in 2 to 3 hours, depending on how much you get into the negotiation. Watergate is set in an alternate reality some people like to call the past, where politicians are scared of journalists. One of you will play as the Nixon administration, trying to keep their secrets under wraps, and the other will play as those meddling journalists that they would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for. I haven't Googled the Watergate scandal, but presumably what happened was President Nixon left a Watergate open, which we call a lock in the UK. Americans have very literal names for things. That's considered terrible canal etiquette. It would have flooded the towpath, and I'm guessing the Canal and Rivers Trust pushed for impeachment. Nixon wins the game by gaining enough political momentum to ride out his presidency, but only if he gets that before the journalist is able to connect enough evidence between him and 2 informants. You each have a unique deck of cards with events and individuals that reflect the history, or her story as appropriate. If you hold Alt whilst hovering your mouse over a card, it will zoom in so you can read the text better. You can play a card for its event, or use its influence to swing something in your favour. Each round, 3 pieces of evidence are up for grabs, but only Nixon will know what they are. The journalist player can press B to blindfold themselves, whilst Nixon looks at the tiles by pressing F to flip them over. The journalist can play a card asking, for example, if there's any green evidence, then pull it towards them. But if they spend all their power on securing evidence, they won't stop Nixon from running away with momentum. It's a great tug of war, or tug of Watergate, if you will. But don't feel you have to. Each side has to balance doggedly pursuing their victory whilst holding the others back from theirs. There are some really powerful event cards which will throw you towards victory, but once you play them, they're out of the game. Timing is everything. Watergate is an incredible, engaging, two-player only game with a glorious amount of depth to dive into, much like a flooded canal. Its simplicity makes it a breeze to play online in 45 minutes, so there's no script needed. In Dead of Winter, you're trying to survive a zombie apocalypse, surrounded by brain-dead creatures that insist on wandering about, infecting people. Okay, that one was too easy. You each control a group of survivors, and you're supposed to be working together towards a common goal, but you're all a bunch of selfish bastards with your own agendas, which if you don't achieve, will lose you the game. The beauty of encouraging every player to be selfish is that it creates suspicion, because one player could be a traitor who is working against the group, trying to win on their own. They want your characters to die, so they'll be making bad choices and trying to persuade you that it's in the group's interest. Each round the group has a crisis to solve, like a medicine shortage. To stop morale from going down, you'll send characters into town, risking death to search abandoned buildings for what you need. The zombies arrive in their droves every round, and you need to share the job of keeping them at bay, or otherwise they'll get into your colony and kill your characters. Survival is all about sharing the load, discussing who will take care of what and how you can best use your abilities. I love how much you have to work together whilst all keeping secrets from each other. It's like cooking Christmas dinner with your family. Little Polly's objective is to steal more pigs in blankets, whereas Uncle Brian just wants everyone dead. Everything you do in Dead of Winter tells a story, running back from the police station with guns to help, but getting bitten on the way and infecting the colony before you die. Then you've got the Crossroads cards, which act as narrative cutscenes. They give you a tough moral decision to make, which might be hard for those of you who can't currently decide between looking at your phone on the sofa or looking at your phone in bed. This is the most complicated game on the list, but the script does a nice job of setting up. Unfortunately, you still have to do the end of round admin. I'd recommend starting with a short game because it will still take 2 hours for 3 to 5 players. And my other tip is that if your friend's gone a bit quiet on the webcam, maybe don't jump to the conclusion that he's a traitor like I did, because you could cost everyone the game. Clank is set in a fantasy universe with dungeons and dragons, but with lowercase d's for copyright reasons. Your goals are to steal loot and not die, but let me explain it in a way you'll understand. The dungeon is a supermarket. It's your mission to brave those treacherous aisles to bring back vital goods for your kind. The best goods are at the back of the supermarket, but the deeper you go, the more dangers you'll face. And the longer you spend in the supermarket, the more you'll gather, but the greater the risk to your health. Sadly, you can't beat a dragon by washing your hands. You move by playing cards, and you can buy new cards to add to your deck so that in later rounds your actions are stronger. Strategize by buying cards that work well together, aiming to kill lots of monsters, or run as fast as you can to the treasure worth the most points. But you are at the mercy of the shuffle, and there's real tension when you draw your cards each round and find out if you've got the ones you need. And you mustn't make too much noise or you'll be killed. But enough about my upstairs neighbours. This mod for Clank is a thing of beauty. It has animated miniatures, it counts up how many points you have to spend each turn, and it automates the dragon attacks. Before trying it, I would have said that Clank was too complicated to play online, but with this mod doing all the legwork, I can recommend it. Clank has real exciting moments when you watch to see who the dragon will attack, clinging to survival. It plays 2 to 4 players, and it will take a good 2 hours at the full player count. You can pretend to be what you want in life. Isle of Skye is neither made of sky nor a proper island since it's attached by a bridge. And that's coming from the biggest board game reviewer on YouTube. In the game of the same name, you're building your kingdom with tiles, expanding mountains and lakes, connecting roads, and trying to meet certain goals. The hook of the game is in how you bid on the tiles. Click New Round and the mod will deal 3 tiles in front of each player. It's up to you to set the price for those tiles, in secret behind your shield. If this round everyone is trying to get tiles with ships on, and you have one, you'll want to set a high price for it. Then you lift the shields and see the prices everyone has set. You take it in turns to buy 1 tile from another player by paying them their price. After that, if you have any tiles left, you must pay your own price to the bank. So you can set a high price to stop other people from buying the one you want, but it will give you less ready cash to buy one yourself. Each round will only score certain goals, so right now sheep are worth more because they're about to score, but you still want to keep an eye on arranging your tiles in columns to score for that later. And in the next game, you suddenly won't care about sheep anymore, like that fickle pig Babe when he swans off to the city. The mod is set up to play the Journeyman expansion, so you'll need to take those tiles out of the box by right-clicking, clicking search, and then dragging them out. Isle of Skye is the mashed potato of board games. It looks bland, it sounds bland, but it's secretly amazing. And beneath that white mush is hidden a delicious fun sausage, which is not a euphemism, for once. Isle of Skye plays 2 to 5 players in 1 hour. In Burgle Brothers, you play as a gang of criminals trying to pull off a heist together. Whether it's Jonas, Wilson, or Hemsworth, your mission is to burgle brothers, to steal the secret of their good looks on behalf of the vengeful ugly one that every family is cursed with. Except you're not the most organised of criminals because you forgot to bring a map. You have no idea where the safes are or what alarms you're about to set off until you explore your surroundings. You can take it slow and reveal the rooms next to you so that you know what you're heading into, or run straight through, risking tripping alarms because the longer you take, the more likely you are to be caught. The building is rigged to the hilt with traps that trigger in different ways. It rewards a thought-out, methodical approach. There's 100 ways to skin this cat burglary, so it's a game where everyone will be pitching in ideas on what to do. And there's a security guard patrolling each floor. You can see the path they're headed along, and there are times that you'll need to set off an alarm to distract them from catching your teammate. It gives you the thrill of hiding in the shadows, and you feel clever when you coordinate your movements to success. It feels like pulling off a heist. I say that having only ever stolen a magazine by accident. But that magazine went out of business, and who can say if it's because of my thievery or a shift in public reading habits towards online publications in the 20 years since I did it. This scripted mod saves you all the hassle of setting up the floor tiles and automates the guard movements each turn. Burgle Brothers is one of the best cooperative games around for 2 to 4 players in 2 hours. Those are my top 10 games to play on Tabletop Simulator. If you found it useful, please like the video and subscribe to the channel to see more videos like this. Actualol is funded by fans. If you want to become a patron of the channel, go to patreon.com/Actualol, where you'll get a monthly newsletter where I talk about the games I don't review on the channel. There's a link in the description. I'm Jon Purkis, thanks for watching.